Yep, Axis and Allies is back, boys. We're rolling with Axis and Allies anniversary. Hallelujah. Axis and Allies is back. Dad's over there doing something right quick, taking care of some business. And this is just a setup, nothing special. I'll be playing the Allies over the course of the next few months because it seems like Axis and Allies games always take forever for us. And Dad will be playing the Axis. It's 3-on-3, and then there is the Chinese in this game though. So I mean, I guess you can do like 3-on-3 and a quarter. I don't know. They don't equate to much. So we just generally say 3-on-3. Because it does include the Italians, as you see. That's pretty awesome. So everything is bare bones, 1941 setup, stock. Got the money, just about to start the German turn. And yeah, that's it. So Dad, do you want to have any forward to the game?
I don't think so. It's pretty
yeah, I didn't upload the other Axis and Allies Europe video because I wasn't happy with the videos, so I decided not to. There is that one up though, I guess, so you can watch that. But this one will definitely be up. And yeah. So, I guess we will see you after turn number 1. Alright, everyone. We're back. We're going into turn 2. Everybody's played. So, it's the Germans' turn again. What we had, the Germans started off, of course, made some pushes into Russia, and actually attacked London, destroyed a British destroyer and a transport up there. But they lost the battle for London. And then, did they do anything else? I don't. Oh, they moved away from Morocco, I guess. And that's about it. The Russians.
Those are the Italians in Morocco now.
Yeah, those are the Italians. But I think the Germans moved away, didn't they? They moved into Liberia. Now the Russians built a lot of men, kind of filled up there in the middle so they can't blitz, and then brought a lot of guys over. They stacked their units up there. The Russians took Finland. And that's about it for the Russians. They didn't do much except turtle. The Japanese pushed into China a little bit, took Kwangtung. Attacked the Philippines, but ended up not having the ground forces to take it. They destroyed the battleship in Honolulu and attacked the islands, but they did not take that either. They destroyed the fleet around Manila, or around the Philippines. They built a transport and a sub, but the Americans sunk it. Pushed up into Russia a little bit, and that's about it, I think. The British did nothing with Australia, but moved their boats back a little safer. They moved some guys up to reinforce Burma, built a factory in India, got a destroyer there, brought this transport here after dropping some guys off in Egypt to reinforce that, moved the guy from South Africa up, guy in Transjordan stayed there, the British just bulked up there in Egypt. The British actually brought the tank from Eastern Canada, brought it down with a destroyer and a transport, and took Morocco, Algeria with a tank. But the Italians, on their turn, built 3 infantry, and then they took some of their guys in Italy and took it. They sunk the 2 British ships that were out there. They pushed up their infantry there. The British kind of consolidated the fleet, destroyed that German fleet that was up there. They took Norway. Just got a transport up there from where they did that. Built a bomber and they built a bomber factory. Got a research token that they'll use next turn. They got the artillery there as well. The Americans landed up in England. The Soviets brought their sub out just to kind of, I don't know, help out and to be a deterrent, I guess. the Soviet sub never really does anything. At least I've never seen it do too much besides like maybe sink a transport or something. The Americans, they sunk a German transport there. Came there, landed in England, brought their fighter over there, built a battleship and a destroyer here and a bomber. Over in Europe, they reinforced Honolulu. Kind of took that transport out there for a suicide run, but it protects the Victory City. We got 3 fighters on there. They got their fleet back in San Francisco. Didn't build anything there this turn. And I think that's about it. Anything else to add, Dad?
No, I don't think so.
Alright. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was round 1. And we shall see you after round 2. And again, Axis and Allies, Anniversary Edition. And yeah, see you in round 2. Alright, everyone, we're back after round 2. It is August, 2nd?
Yeah.
2018. So that was last week of the last round. We're pretty slow at playing these games, so we only do like 1 round or maybe a couple rounds a week because we only play on Fridays, and we're not in too big of a rush, if you know what I mean. But so we're just gonna go over what happened in round 2, and that'll be about it. So first of all, we both had some pretty poor luck with the dice, especially the Germans here defending against the Russians. Both navies had really bad luck there. The Americans and the Italians. We'll get more into that. The British got a technology, long-range aircraft, which basically you add 2 to the range. That's about it. The Allies didn't have very good luck defending against the Japanese. So yeah. Let's see here. The American Navy got sunk. They didn't take anybody with them. That cruiser got sunk, but we lost the fighter, and the fighters landed on Wake. On the Allies, of course, that's the Axis.
Lost some,
the Canadians moved down to the west coast, built a couple guys down there. We had some bad luck defending in Burma, so now we're trying to hold on for dear life in India. Had some ships move. Bomber moved up to New Guinea after sinking the 2 transports there on Manila. And that's about it there. Built 3 tanks in that new factory. A couple new guys. The Chinese attacked there. Lost 2 men, didn't take anybody. But they did have a Chinese guy versus Japanese guy, and the Chinese guy won, believe it or not. Chinese guy with the BB gun beat the Japanese army.
Yeah.
There was a the Russians took that back. They had an army of 6, and then the Japanese counterattacked and took out all 6 of them. Actually, with a smaller army, believe it or not, 4 men and a tank, and I think a couple fighters, versus 6 men. And they only took a few men with them, so that was kind of terrible. The Russians built as many men as they possibly could. They built, because they can build up to 12 units, they built 11 men. Maxed out Karelia, maxed out Russia, and then built 3 down there in Caucasus. The Germans pushed all the way, took the Balkans, took Belarusia, eastern Ukraine, but then the Russians pushed back here, and there even. Now the Germans are kind of on the defensive again. The German Navy got rebuilt a little bit. The British Navy got rebuilt there, or the British Navy actually got sunk by the German Luftwaffe. And then they rebuilt another navy, which put there, and then the sub. The Italians came up and sunk the British Navy, the British transport, and the Russian submarine that was there. Took no casualties. That's another one of the poor rolls. And then the Americans came over with their fleet and all their air force, and they lost 2 destroyers and a fighter to try and take it out. And that lasted what, like 4 or 5 rounds, Dad?
Yeah.
Because all the 4s, I had 3 4s and Dad had 1 4, and none of them hit, hardly ever. I think the destroyers ended up getting 2 hits, and that was kind of the big thing. The bombers of the English bombers went and bombed Italy for 5 damage. They fixed it, of course, but the Americans took Morocco, Algeria. The British, with their long-range fighters, there was an Italian transport there. I don't know if you remember or not, but the fighter actually came 1, 2, 3, and since they got long-range fighters, they had 2 to the range, 4, 5, 6, which I don't fault Dad for that. Simply because he didn't know I was going to get the technology, and that was kind of a moment thing, so that was nice. Sink that undefended transport, but again, just fortunes of war, I guess. The 2 guys from Rhodesia moved up to India to help defend. The 2 guys from Transjordan moved into India, or into Egypt, sorry. Nothing happened in Scandinavia, as you see, except for the Russians moved out and the English moved out. The Americans built some ships over here, and they moved the man over from the central United States, and the artillery, they built an artillery there, a couple more destroyers. So the Atlantic's pretty much solidly American right now. And that's about it. Anything you want to add, Dad?
No, it's been fun. It's been interesting.
So,
every time it's like your turn, it looks like you're doing well till the other guy goes.
Yeah. Trying to contain the Japanese. If we can do that, then we'll be looking pretty good. I'm kind of worried about these carriers because they got 3 carriers and they're all fully loaded. That's my big fear. He's got a lot of fighter support. Two more fighters there. Oh, actually, and a fighter down there that I didn't see till just now. So that's kind of scary. But the American bombers flying around, sinking transports.
Yeah, he's down there.
And so the American Air Force is trying to keep the Japanese Navy at bay.
Yeah, that actually hurt us pretty bad. I didn't see that coming.
So that'll be it. Here's the money board. It's upside down. But Russia has overtaken the Germans. The British fell a little bit, but they're still the highest. The Japanese gained money, obviously. Italy's still where they were, and I think the Americans actually gained 1. They lost 1, sorry, because they lost the Philippines, but then they regained 1 there. So that's about it. Anything you want to add, Dad, before we sign off for round 2?
Economically, you're beating me. I've only got, let's see how many victory cities I've got.
Oh, that's a good point.
I've got
no one's winning, but
cities. You have to have 15 to win?
Yes.
I've got 8.
15 at the end of the round.
How many you got?
I got 10. So it's pretty even right now as in terms of victory cities. But the Allies are making a lot more money because all 3 Allies are making more than even Russia, who's making the least out of the Allies, is still making more than the Germans, who's making the most money for the Axis. So we're definitely winning economically.
On the Axis, I'm trying to hang in there.
So yeah, that's it. That's what happened on round 3. We're going to try and squeeze in another round for tonight. And yeah, that'll be it.
The Russian Reds, the Cincinnati Reds.
A communist. Communist. Yeah, but we'll be back after turn 3. Bye. Alright, everyone. This is a dark day for the world. However, it's also a day of rejoicing. So many things have happened. This is probably the most intense round of Axis and Allies I've ever played in my life. Dad, your thoughts?
That was pretty good. It was some interesting stuff. So I've had some stuff in this.
Okay, let's just start with what happened first, I guess, in order. The Germans, did they build those transports this turn?
Yeah.
They did. They built 4 transports there, had the cruiser and the battleship there. They're gone, as you see. But we'll get to that later. That was very scary. They left 1 guy in each of those to kind of stop the Russians from blitzing, even though Well, I guess they did have that tank down there. They could have blitzed up, but so, and then they withdrew to there, and that was about it. They built 4 guys as well as those 4 transports, kind of their last-ditch scenario. They're still really strong there in Poland, but I think that the Germans are on their way out. The Americans have been focusing on the Europe, which has definitely helped a lot. Russia is very strong. They have obviously six guys all there. They withdrew there, as you see, to Yakut, so that they had 1 territory to kind of defend. Moved 6 guys over, built more men there. They built like 10 men, moved some guys around, but we got a strong front line in artillery. We actually took Bulgaria, Romania, which was nice, because that gave us 10 extra IPCs for the national objective, as well as the 2 for the territory. We lost our tank and artillery from down there, but that's not too bad, because we have a ton of money now for the Russians. So that's really awesome. And then here's the chart. As you see, the Americans are actually under the Germans, as you see there. Sorry, trying to do this through the camera. 26. As you see, the Allies are still winning in economically, but the Japanese are doing very well. That's because they actually invaded and took San Francisco. So that was huge. The Japanese had a very successful round for them. It's very scary. They took San Francisco. They took Alaska. They actually they pushed a little deeper into China, of course, but the Chinese have been very good in this game. Retook there, lost an infantry, destroyed the British fleet. They tried to take India, but the Indians held with 2 tanks.
It was somewhat
So
we almost, yeah,
that could have been a little better, but that wasn't as honestly, that was the one I was scared was gonna fall, not that one, because that was all fighters and 1 man. So I figured the AA gun would do a little good. It didn't. It missed. The British fleet just kind of joined up there.
Western U.S.,
That's huge.
I've never seen that happen.
That's huge. Because that's not only a victory city, and 12 IPCs. And that pulls America out of Europe for a turn, which is huge. It may be a little too late.
10 IPCs.
Oh, 10 IPCs, sorry. But even that's so huge. It may be too little too late for the Germans, because the British and the Russians are so strong. Mainly the Russians, really. But that definitely pulls America out of turn of Europe, which they were focusing on Europe. That's why they're kind of the Germans and the Italians are so weak. But and it also takes away the American national objective, and that's huge. So that's 15 loss for America, IPC, and a 10 for gain for Japan. They lost some fighters, which was heavy, but it's going to take me at least a turn to take that back. At least 2 turns, actually, because he's probably going to move guys and build guys there, so 2 to 3 turns at least. And they're going to be producing all that money while it happens, too. And the Americans are going to be pumping out tanks like crazy. And that's going to be a pain. That's going to be horrible. Let's see, the British turn. They built 3 more tanks in India, pumping out armor there. And they took North Africa. That was a pretty gruesome battle for the Axis. They invaded with everything, and the British only lost 1 infantry. They had
about the bombers and the battleships
in Libya. There,
yeah.
That was pretty gruesome for the Axis in North Africa.
Key battle of the game.
Yeah, that one, right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That was pretty gruesome for the Axis. All these guys invaded, plus 1 more. They only took 1 casualty.
I was just trying to get.
And it was what, 2 Italian men, an Italian artillery, and an Italian fighter. They also had a German panzer and a German infantry. So they could have done a lot better than they did. I was kind of leery about that attack as well. I was kind of confident we could win, but not. I'm very pleased, obviously, with what we have left. But that was pretty gruesome. The Americans took Morocco, Algeria. With the man and artillery they had there, no losses. Obviously, they built a bunch of tanks because they got to get over there fast. And in artillery, just because they could, I guess. They got to do something. Because the Japanese control the West Coast and Alaska. The Americans are kind of the heroes of the Atlantic, though, because this huge fleet that was there, 4 transports, could have actually taken London. They could have. They would have had the German fighter and the German bomber, as well as 4 German men, and at least 4, a tank, and then probably 3 artillery as well. And the bombers, as you see, don't do much. There were 2 more. There were 2 bombers. I built 3. The British used all their money to build a submarine there.
1 American bomber made the
3 bombers. They built 3 bombers, and the 3 in India, since they had a bunch of money. That was helpful. But the 2 bombers that were there attacked, sunk the cruiser. Obviously, the battleship gets fixed, and so that kind of saved Finland, Norway. So that's a IPC bonus for the Russians, which helps. But mainly it saved London, because if London fell, that would have been horrible. As well as San Francisco. They very well could have done it too, with how the defenders have been rolling in this game. I mean, isn't that right, Dad? Like, the defenders have been rolling horrible for both sides.
I think I would, because you just had a bunch of bombers that very bad at defending.
Yes. And then the Americans sent their 2 over to fight the battleship.
Your British bombers didn't
we damaged it, the first one. We hit with one, damaged the battleship, and then missed with the other one. The battleship sunk the other one. And that was scary because I hit
a chance to take out the bomber with my battleship, and I missed. And then you got all my transports.
And I hit the battleship again, and that was scary because I knew if he hit back, I sunk the battleship, but all those transports, which I was really worried about, were still there, and obviously I have no navy to stop them.
You know, the original Axis
Germans go first.
Transports could defend themselves.
Yeah, they don't in the newer games.
I don't know if I like that.
But
they're just like toast, you know.
Yeah, they are. So that's kind of mixed feelings. I don't know. I kind of see it though, because
I had 1 dice roll to take out that bomber, and my transports would have survived.
But you think the transports? What would they would have had? Some machine guns on them?
I don't know.
Maybe some anti-aircraft. They're not going to hit a bomber. You know what I mean? A fighter. I could see transports defending against fighters in strafing runs, but I don't see them defending against bombers though. Bombers just too high up. They would have had to have dedicated anti-aircraft, which I don't think they would have had. Which I don't know. They could have had though, because
I rolled a 5. Right?
I am by no means an expert or even really that knowledgeable about the war.
I don't know.
With that kind of stuff. So,
it's probably more accurate.
If you're watching this, thumbs up to you. If you're going to comment, 2 thumbs up. Thumbs up, Dad, 1 thumbs up. And if you know about the transports, whether they had dedicated AA, 3 thumbs up to you, because you did all 3, which is not. That's like a bomber
you say your Russians
defending.
Are doing the best for you.
I would say the Russians are doing awesome.
I think Japan's done the best for me.
They got like $50 right now with all the stuff they got.
Money.
So many men. Russians are doing awesome.
Germans and Italians haven't done well.
So I think the Allies could definitely pull this out, but the Axis could also definitely pull this out with how much money Japan's making, controlling the West Coast. That's a huge liability. That is a huge liability. That sucks. Bad. Oh, and also the Americans on their turn bought a researcher, they got a breakthrough and got long-range aircraft. So we're kind of saying that the British shared their technology, even though it was just pure chance. But that's awesome because I've been flying around popping transports and ships with these fighters in the Pacific, and so that definitely helps me there. It's kind of an interesting tactic I've never done before, is just not build any ships, just use planes. I mean, maybe it's a flawed, as you see, maybe my strategy's flawed, but just flying around, trying to pop transports wherever I can with bombers seems to be working, at least to an extent, because they're not spread out like they really are, and the mainland Japan's suffering bad. So maybe the tables have turned, maybe they haven't. I'd say it's still a pretty even game. The Italians are suffering, so are the Germans. Russians and the Japanese are booming. They're booming though. Any thoughts, Dad, before we leave? This is probably it for the night.
I'm bummed out that I missed with that bomber.
That was huge. I pooped my pants a little bit on that one.
Took the Western U.S.
But yeah.
If I hit that battleship hits that bomber, my transports are still alive, and I think.
And you could have taken London. With the West Coast and London, there was no way.
We take London or not. I've never taken London before. I think that was my best shot ever.
Yeah. So hopefully the Russians can do something. They got a lot of men, so maybe we'll see a Russian tank or something pop up. That's kind of awesome. But are we done for tonight? I mean, I got my adrenaline pumping.
All those Italians did take out that one Russian tank. That did.
Oh, they did take out the one Russian tank.
But now they're almost gone.
What time is it? Yeah, it's 10:30. We should probably stop.
I guess we'll get back to this next time.
We'll get back to it. It's been epic. It's been awesome. I had fun, a lot of fun. Even though the Japanese are whooping me. Yeah, even though the Japanese are whooping me.
That's crazy.
I'm still having a blast because it's cool. The Japanese are doing really well in the Pacific, and I'm doing really well in Europe. So that's kind of awesome. It's not a slaughter on one side like our Europe game was.
Hey, what is this border? Panama?
Panama
and the central
and West and Mexico, and then Central United States.
It doesn't border Mexico here, does it?
Yeah, it does. Panama and Mexico, and then Western United States borders Eastern United States.
They can go straight from Eastern U.S. to Mexico.
No, they can go straight from Western United States or Eastern United States. Sorry, where the tanks are. They can go straight from there to the central.
But they can't go straight to Mexico.
The tanks can because they got to move through Panama then to Mexico. The artillery only moves one, right?
Yeah.
It moves down to Panama and then over to Mexico. Or it can move straight over to Central United States.
They can't get to the Western U.S.
They cannot get to the Western United States this turn. It'll be at least 2 turns.
They could if
and
they
then
went to
Eastern,
the Central U.S. They could.
The tanks could, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Eastern Canada also borders Western Canada.
They don't have anti-tank guns in this game, do they?
No, they don't.
They had those, though, didn't they, in real life?
Yes. Yes, they did.
That's what the Japanese would need there in the Western U.S., like a bunch of anti-tank
Yeah.
guns. That'd be, how crazy would that have been if the Japanese took Western U.S.?
That would have been crazy. I don't think it would have been as bad as it is in the game.
I don't think they ever planned
because you remember in America we have civil liberties, and that's awesome. So if this ever happened, all the civilians with their legally owned AR-15s and tools, not weapons, tools to defend themselves with, they would use those tools to defend themselves in their country, and they would fight back.
Yeah, because now there's nobody there, and there'd be little.
Yeah.
I had to lose fighters.
I mean, if one measly Japanese battalion tried to invade the U.S., they'd be crushed. They never even get on the beaches.
Dude, did it surprise you that I attacked that?
Kind of. I was afraid you would have. That's why I built that stuff. I probably should have built more stuff instead of the 3 transports. It was kind of a long I could have, because I built 3 transports here. I probably could have built 1 transport, which is all I really needed, and built more men over there. But hindsight's always 20/20. Yeah. So that's it. I know this turn's kind of dragged on, but a lot has happened. So, well, we'll say farewell for tonight, and we'll get back to you next week. Hopefully. If not, we'll see you whenever. It'll be instantaneous for you, but on to turn 4, right?
Yeah, because we played 2 rounds.
On to turn 4. Can you believe this has all happened in 3 rounds? That's awesome. Well, this is the Guardsman, over and out.